everyone, my name is Rebecca Brewer, and today we're going to speak a little bit about the history of nursery rhymes. All of us have heard nursery rhymes within our lifetime. We've had them read to us as children, we've read them ourselves, we've even read them to our own children at times. I actually sang a nursery rhyme, a lullaby rather, to my daughter earlier this evening. Now, everyone may have books like this or tapes that they would play for their children. But have you ever really looked at a nursery rhyme and thought back to actually what each one meant? Take, for instance, Rockabye Baby. It's essentially about putting a child in a crib and letting the tree and the wind rock them to sleep. Now, if the wind blows, the cradle may fall, dropping the baby down to the ground as well. Which is actually pretty serious, and it's actually pretty morbid. If you would think about, excuse me, Wee Willie Winkie, is essentially about a man running around town in his nightgown, peeking through windows and peering through locks to make sure children are asleep. Now, if that were done in today's society, he would be on a national registry, or at least a statewide registry. Today we're going to take a closer look at 3 nursery rhymes in particular. The first would be Humpty Dumpty, the second is Ring Around the Rosie, and the third is Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary. Now, according to rhymes.org, Humpty Dumpty was not an egg, as you see in every nursery rhyme. It has never stated that Humpty Dumpty was an egg, it's just implied. I don't know where it started. But according to rhymes.org, Humpty Dumpty was in fact a large cannon. It was actually set up on the walls at St. Mary's Church, and it was used during the English Civil War. Now, during an attack during the English Civil War, Humpty Dumpty, the wall in which Humpty Dumpty sat on, was attacked by a cannonball. It crushed the wall and it caused the cannon, or Humpty Dumpty, to tumble down. The royalists that were within that camp, or all the king's men, tried to pick Humpty Dumpty up and move him to another wall, but they failed due to Humpty Dumpty's size and weight. So therefore, Humpty Dumpty could not be put together again by all the king's horses and all the king's men. According to education.com, Ring Around the Rosie is actually in regards to the Great Plague of 1655. If you break it down to each line, Ring Around the Rosie was from the ring, a circle ring that would appear around the fever marks on a person suffering from the plague. Now, a pocket full of posy, a lot of times they would take herbs or flowers, anything that had a nice odor to it, to mask the stale odor of the air and the smell of death. Ashes, ashes was actually changed from a tissue, which referred to the violent sneezing attack that people would have before they died from the plague. And of course, we all fall down would be when they died from the plague. So if you think about that and state the lines back, it sounds a little different. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Now finally, the final one that we're going to look at is Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary. Now, Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells, and pretty maids all in a row. Now, Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary was actually believed to be Bloody Mary, or Mary Tudor I of England. She was known for her brutal persecution of Protestants, and the fact that she would kill several. Now, the first line, as I said, Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary, is Mary Tudor. How does your garden grow refers to not an actual garden with vegetables, but it refers to a graveyard. So this is not, expanding a vegetable garden or a flower garden. This is the expansion of a graveyard, or how did more people get killed and buried. Now, silver bells and cockle shells I had never heard of before, but in further research, silver bells are actually thumb screws, and they're used as a torture device. You would put the fingers into this, and you would spin the top around, and it would actually clamp the fingers down and sometimes remove them as well. Cockle shells was a torture device that was actually placed on male genitalia, and I'm not sure exactly how it was used, but in the end it would crush and mutilate the genitalia. And the final line of that is pretty maids all in a row. It's not pretty maids as, young women in society. It's actually referred to as the Iron Maidens, or the original guillotine. It would be used for beheading and torture. So you think about Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary. Kids sing it. I remember singing it as a child, and I never knew it was so brutal. So looking further into the history of nursery rhymes, I have thought more about what I'm going to expose my children to, and I hope that you do as well. Take some time and look back into the history of nursery rhymes, what they really mean, and make an educated choice on what you're going to play for your children. And I'll finish this with an actual singing of Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary to see how you feel about it. I hope you've learned a lot from my speech. Thank you for your time.